Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. After seeing these figures debut last year at Legions Con, I've finally gotten my hands on one. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Legends of the Ramayan Rama figure. If Saturday morning cartoons fueled your imagination as a kid and powers your action figure collecting now as an adult, then you're in the right place. Thanks for stopping by and welcome to Saturday Morning Toy Collector. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Over the past year, Articulated Empire has become your trusted online retailer. They carry all the latest lines like Mythic Legions, Valaverse, AWOC, Zesray Studios, and much, much more. They ship your items quickly and securely. You'll be quite happy with how Steve and his team follow through with their care and attention. Articulated Empire also offers free shipping over $75 and no tax except for Illinois residents. So head over to articulatedempire.com today and build your empire. All right, and here we have a closer look at the front of the box here. I think the boxes for these figures are just absolutely beautiful. There is a fair amount of like empty space. I think I would have liked for it to be a little smaller, a little compactor, more compact. Let's speak proper English for once. But I do like the logo that they've come up with, the character art right here, big bold name right here at the bottom. Then you have sort of like, this is sort of like a write-up for the toy line as a whole, the Ramayan toy line as a whole, which I think is pretty neat. You have the website right here, the Instagram. And if you would like to see like an interview with, there's a logo for the company who made the figures. If you'd like to see a really nice interview with the guy, Sumya Diaz, who created these figures, Sumya Das, I'm sorry, is his name, then please check out the link right here. And check out when my buddy Greg talked to Sumya about his toy line and how it was the sculpt and the paint and the production management was done by Four Horsemen Studios, which is really cool. It does have a little sticker right here. This was applied after the fact that just says there's a free comic book inside. And then here you have a write-up for Prince Rama himself. I guess it says Series 2 of Princes and Kings. This is like Series 1, so maybe this is a little tease for what's coming. But enough about the package. Let's get this guy opened up and take a closer look at everything he comes with. All right, the first accessory here that we're going to look at is the comic book. And this is not like your Mattel, Masters of the Universe Origins mini comic. This is like not a full-size comic, but, I think we would probably call this somewhere near a digest size comic. Maybe a manga would be, pretty appropriate for that size. Even though that this is the hero, this is an alternate version of Rama. So that's probably why this starts with issue 2 of Princes and Kings, which may be what the back of it should have said is, figure number 2 instead of series 2. But it's a very nicely printed comics. It's printed in China. Here we have Hanuman, also available in Wave 1. And all this photography is by Trevor Williams, who does the Four Horsemen photography. Series 1, The Mighty Vanaras. So this was pretty interesting because you don't see this very often. But, you've got interior art, like every couple of pages was done by somebody new. Colors were done basically by 4 different people. Oh, look here. Special thanks to our friend Cullen Culp. Look at that. Pretty cool. But Sumya is the one who created and wrote and designed these characters. And so you're going to see that the art is not going to be consistent throughout because it changes so much. But this is a pretty, for a pack-in comic, I feel like this is kind of like a meaty offering. I feel like what you get here is pretty substantial. And then some of these artists really, I mean, look at that panel right there. Like, I can't imagine how long it took that artist to draw that panel. Like, that's a couple of days work right there just on that single panel. As a comic book artist myself, I often feel obligated to sit and pore over individual pages because I'm like, that took that person like so long to draw that. Like, I'm not just going to skip right over it. But this is a pretty meaty offering, not just of the legend or the backstory, but setting up this world that these characters live in. And then here is the character we just saw a picture of on the inside front cover, and then teasing some stuff to come up with that's coming up, especially like this head accessory that you can buy for this figure. And then here are all of the backers that backed the initial Kickstarter. And I'm sure if you kind of pause this, you're going to see a lot of friends and subscribers of not only this channel but people in the cabal. But that's really cool. Jesse Arnold, yeah, Simone Barreto, yeah, just some names are just like jumping out. Eric Miller right there jumping out at me. Yeah, it's looking really, really nice. Then we have another character right here that is put in here. I'm trying to remember. I did back the campaign, so I don't know like if oh yeah, right there. There's my name, Mark Thomas, Saturday Morning Toy Collector, right there. I backed the character. It's very similar to this, but it's bright orange. Looks like Beastman, and it is a tribute to Cornboy. In name, I think it's like Maze or something like that. Lots of hands. We get lots of hands. We get 2 punchies on horizontal hinges. We get 2 weapon or item holding hands on horizontal hinges. We get 2 gripping weapon holding hands on vertical hinges, always necessary in this day and age. We get 2 karate choppies, or saluting, or flying, or gesturing, or whatever you want to call, but very nice. 2, now these are going to be your arrow, bow, and notched arrow holding hands on horizontal hinges. I'm always leery of like characters that I love characters that comes with a bow and arrow, but I'm always leery about how they're going to hold them, and do they hold them naturally, and then just some relaxed palms. You see very nice paint work, light blue skin, dark blue on the nails, and these of course are on horizontal hinges. Speaking of that bow and arrow, you get this really nice quiver. It's got some beautiful like leather texture work on it. It looks really nice. You have a full like complement of arrows, like 30 or so arrows, in there, but they don't come out. It's all one piece. I don't even believe that there is a place, I don't see one down in there, to put the extra arrow that you get, but the color does match up perfectly. You get a singular arrow, and then this is not soft goods. It's just a very soft rubbery plastic here. I would be very careful with this. You want to make sure that you don't rip it off of the quiver. Very nice accessory. And then you do get that arrow, and then you get the bow. And man, I can't stress this enough. Like, do not ever give us a plastic string, McFarlane, Hasbro. Like, just don't do it. Like, put the extra effort, put an actual string on there. I do like that this bow actually works. So as you pull the string back, you're going to get some bend in the bow. That's really cool. And then you do get that singular arrow with 3 hits of paint. Looks really nice. And then I'm not sure where this works into the story, but he does come with a little squirrel. So if you're in the middle of like, if you're collecting like little animals from the various, waves of different figures that are coming out from different IPs, now we have a little squirrel to add to our little complement of creatures. So here we have Rama standing straight up and down on our little rotating base. And just to give you an idea of how tall he is coming in, just under 7 inches tall. I went with this color because the blue and the orange is very striking to me. It reminds me of like the Rock Lords toys that I think Four Horsemen at one point tried to get back off the ground. So maybe this is a tribute to that. I don't know if Rama ever appears blue in like traditional Indian folklore or the legends. I'm not sure. There is a regular natural skin toned color version of Rama. I think he might be figure one in the wave. But, just to give you an idea of what this character looks like standing straight up or down, if for any reason you ever wondered like what a more traditional, more realistic, I guess, proportioned body would be coming from the Four Horsemen, because they have a very distinctive style for their Mythic Legions and their Cosmic Legions figures. I think this is a pretty good indicator of what that figure line would look like if they did like less of their own personal aesthetic, which I absolutely love. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I love that aesthetic. But just going over what it would look like, this is what I think you would get. I don't think that they haven't gotten away from the holes in the back for armor or pauldrons. I'm not sure if any of the characters in this first wave have shoulder armor or pauldrons. I don't know. This is the only figure that I've ever messed around with. Just taking him off, he does have foot pegs, very nice sculpt on the bottom of the feet. But I'm just kind of going over the articulation here and how this guy moves. You do have three separate pieces here. So the beaded necklace, the sash, and then this extra string, decorative string here, which is not soft goods. It is like a rubbery plastic. And again, I don't know, how does this go? We would probably need to pop his head off, and then kind of lift this up a little bit. Does it go like traditional, quivers and like hang over the back like that? Does it go around his waist and hang at his side? I'm not sure. It's your figure. You do what you want. If somebody knows, like in traditional legend or folklore, if he's ever depicted in a way, let me know. We only get one head sculpt, but it's beautifully painted. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit there on that, and you can see like the eyes are painted super nice. The painted detail on the top of his forehead's really nice. The bead work around his hair on the top of his head. The sculpt work is really clean on the hair. Very nice. I dig the aesthetic here. It looks really nice. Now, as far as articulation goes, the head can look up about that far and can look down about that far, and you do get, since you're on that ball peg, you get some bobble, some tilt, lots of range of emotion there in the head. I really like that. Arms can go out to the side, yep, and hit that T-pose, no problem. You do have that standard ball joint that Four Horsemen like to do. Upper bicep swivel, which is really nice to see them do, because we don't get that. We do have a single joint at the elbow, and we do have that little elbow flap hanging over that we see with like Frazetta girls and heroic signatures. You're getting 90 degrees there. Nice, beautiful like airbrushing and on the paintwork, so you get some subtle hints of like a lighter blue and a darker blue. Maybe some highlights in there as well. Some nice vein sculpt work on the bicep. And then hinge and swivel, depending on which hands you have, will depend on which way they swivel. You do have 2 points of articulation in the body. So you have this upper torso piece that can lean back about that far and lean forward that far. It's not the greatest range of motion, but I think coupled with the ball joint at the waist, I'm thinking that's a ball joint. I don't know. It may be just a simple swivel. I can't really tell, but nice airbrushing in there. So, if you engage both of those points, you're getting that far. You do have full rotation there at the waist. This is what is this? Is this like this looks like it is made like the Four Horsemen do their skirt pieces, where it's clamped into this peg here. You can see that there's a little bit of plastic that runs into the ball joint in there. So any drop down, there's no drop down, but you forward movement about that far, out to the side very well, and you do have some slits here on the side for the legs to move around. And then this sash has a little plug-in, which is really nice, so it plugs in right there, so it doesn't flop around all the time. Can only go back about that far. You do have an upper thigh cut, and then we've got some baggy pants here, but you do have double jointed pinless legs, so we're going back all the way. I mean, that's pretty crazy, but you do get that weird knee thing happening. Let's see if we have like a lower leg pivot. We do not. That would have been a good place to put one. If, you know, do you really need it though? Like with this up here, I'm not sure. You do have the nice generous hinge and then a forward facing pin for rocker down there. Now, like I said, anybody that does a bow and arrow figure, I'm always curious about how these are going to work in function, you know, like it's good to have them, because, you know, sometimes, you know, it's like good in idea, but not necessarily in execution. So the first thing I'm going to try to do is line the hands up like that, and then let's get the bow in here. Hands are super stiff, man. Like this is super tight. I do not know if I'm going to be able to get in there and pry these hands open. Now, I'm not going to be able to, but that's my dumbass. Not. So this hand is actually sculpted closed. I don't know if you can see that. This is really just for the arrow and the string. You really are supposed to just use the weapon gripping hand on the horizontal hinge there. So, you know, that's not a fault of the figure. That's me. That's on me. I'm done. If anybody saw my last review where I kept calling the figure Phantos instead of Phanost, then you know I should do better. I should learn more before I start reviewing these figures. So you are going to be able to have him hold the bow in a fairly believable, especially depending on, like, if you kind of turn him and you can't really see that he's kind of holding it away from his body. Kind of pose here, but I think maybe the arrow might be, like, I don't know, like, is the arrow going to be just large enough to sit? I don't know. It seems like I would have liked for the arrow to be a little bit longer. As it is, it's just a little too close. Now I know I could probably fix that by, you know, decreasing the distance. Yeah, so not bad at all. But yeah, so now let's get this guy standing straight up and down and do some size comparisons in case you guys want to mix him into some other toy lines that you may have on your shelf. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a Mythic Legions figure so you can see how it scales with other Four Horsemen sculpted figures. I'll bring in Thanos, kind of playing around with him. He's still on my desk. Hey, Bill Bones, fall in. So you can see that you know, it's going to come in around that exact same scale as your Mythic Legions if you wanted to, like, put them in. A little bit shorter than your Cosmics. Cosmics are a little bit bigger because of those bigger bodies. And then we're just going to kind of run through some other figures and other lines. So why don't we bring in, here is a D13 figure, also produced by the Four Horsemen Studios. We'll bring in one of the newer Meta Travelers Legendary figures, as you can see, pretty much in line with both of those. Let's get this guy out of the way. Bring in, here is a Frazetta Girls Conan. I believe that's a Frazetta Girls Conan, so that's going to match up nicely. And then here we have Moshi Zero from Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Definitely going to fall in with both of those lines there as far as, like, height-wise. Then I have a couple of other figures. Here is a Marvel Legends Punisher, probably the antithesis of Rama here. Here is a custom bullseye that I made from a Valaverse figure. So a little bit taller than both of those guys. And then let's bring in Akuma from your Jada Toy Street Fighter line. And then here is Naraka the Undying from your Savage Crucible line. So very much in line here with this scale. Not so much the Jada toys. But yeah, man, that Naraka figure is so much fun. Yeah, All right, so let's get him up on a rotating base and give our final thoughts. Now, of course, I can't say for certain if this is a line that I'm going to continue to collect down the road. I do think, I do have a second figure coming from the Kickstarter. This figure I purchased off of Big Bad Toy Store, where most of the line is available. There are a couple that are sold out, but I know that Sumya is like taking these figures around to different toy shows. So just check the socials, make sure, that, he's going to be at a toy show that's going to be coming near you, and then you can probably pick them up in person. I know he'll be back at Legions Con again, selling these figures. I think they're nice. I think they're beautiful. I think they're very imaginative, based on real world folklore, which I love. I think that's great. Will this be a deep line? Is it a line that he can continue and sustain down the road? I don't know. Maybe that's going to be a question for how long he keeps the comic going. If he keeps creating new stories and telling new stories, creating new characters, then I could see this go the distance. But at the end of the day, as it stands right now, I do plan on having the two that I have. I love supporting independent toy makers and independent creators making new toy lines in this space, and at the scale. And, as a fan of the Four Horsemen, knowing that they worked on them, I can see their design DNA, some of their engineering DNA, their creativity in this figure. I think it looks beautiful. I'm happy to have it. I'm happy that I paid what I paid. I paid $40 for this figure. I think it's like $39.99. I think that's a pretty good price point for what you're getting. That's kind of right in line like with your Operation Monster Force and your lower end Mythic Legions figures. I think the price point is okay for what you're getting. And I'm happy to have it. I think it's a very well done figure. I think it occupies a space in the IP itself, occupies a space in the toy line that's not represented now. And I'm all about diversity and inclusion and representation for underrepresented IPs and cultures and legends and folklore. Man, I would love like a solid line of just legends, myths, and folklore, and they like somebody just dip into different cultures and different continents and countries and different peoples and explore the different strange and wonderful worlds that lie in that segment of our culture as humans. I think that would be super cool. And until that happens, we have lines like this, the Legends of the Ramayan, to occupy and fill that space. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this figure? What do you think of the line? And do you plan on picking any of them up? And if so, which ones? Be sure to check out our podcast called Across the Toyverse, wherever you download your podcast. And be sure to check us out over at Instagram at Saturday Morning Toy Collector. I am your Saturday Morning Toy Collector, Mark, and I'll see you in the toy aisles.